Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, your regular injection of mind-numbing local news. My name is Alex. Of course, joining us as always is Rob for episode 381 on we're recording down a crisp but sunny morning. How are you doing, Rob?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. I'm conscious. I don't know why, but after we got past 380, it feels like we're getting ever close to that 400. And obviously, 2023 is. Oh well, yeah, it should be. It should be the year that we get to 400, which again, when I say it out loud, seems absolutely insane. But yeah, no. Apart from that, I am not too bad, Alex.
Good. It feels to me like, Rob, from the tone of what you said there, that I don't know. It wasn't just a real. I don't know. It felt like you were maybe having an existential crisis regarding that, like the.
I mean, Alex, not just about that. I think my life is just it's just one prolonged existential crisis, really. It just sort of, it goes in peaks and troughs, really. Trying to keep a grip on reality is becoming increasingly difficult. But apart from that, I'm fine.
It's funny you mentioned that, Rob, because we obviously we don't script this. We don't even talk about it beforehand. But it's. I have recently, before this podcast started, Rob, I was watching, you're going to love this, Rob, you're absolutely going to love it. There is hang on 1 second, Rob, 1 second, door's being knocked. Sorry, listeners, that was an overeager Amazon driver who had a package that could easily go through the letterbox, but just wanted to knock, presumably because he wanted some human interaction and doesn't understand that I didn't.
Could you not just respond to us and just say, look, can't you see I'm podcasting, man? And shut the door in his face.
I should have done that. Now listen, let's get back to what I was saying. Before we were recording this podcast, I was reading an article about this AI-generated endless sitcom, which is loosely based on the Seinfeld format. So it's called Nothing Forever. It streams 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, endlessly, with characters that are reminiscent of Jerry Seinfeld, George Costanza, Elaine, and Kramer, but they've got different names, but the apartments roughly look the same. It's very pixelated, looks like sort of 80s, 90s blocky graphics. And the AI engine sort of, so every interaction you're hearing is completely unique. It's just scraping the internet, coming up with ideas, and it's just a show about nothing. So I was just watching it for a good 20 minutes before this started. And it is just people talking about nothing, quite awkward acting, a horrendous laugh track that kicks in at inappropriate times. But interestingly, but occasionally you'll get a nugget out of it. A nugget. And what I noticed is that in one of our LAs, Rob, I remember, I think we had in one of our LA extras, which are all brilliant, which are all on Patreon. I'll give people the details later, which I really enjoy doing with you, Rob. Massively. Because it also gives us a chance sometimes to go off on these lovely tangents. Yeah. You were talking about your past career as a sofa and bed delivery man.
Yes.
Because of course I read a story about a sofa that some delivery guys couldn't get up the stairs. It got jammed there. And if you remember, Rob, after causing a lot of destruction to the house, they just left it there and went home.
Yeah.
And on this particular round of Nothing Forever, one of the characters had got a job delivering furniture. And he was saying that he once delivered a piano to a man that had no hands. And he said he'd never forget it because when he left it, the man had the biggest grin on his face. And I interpreted that joke to mean, potentially, that he was playing it with his penis. So it's very worth... Okay. If you go to Nothing Forever and Twitch on Google, because it's on Twitch, and it's just a constant stream with comments constantly coming in on the sidebar. You don't need to bother reading those. But it's very haunting, deeply concerning in a way, because it's like this is humanity in a bottle, just on this. It's like an art installation. I mean, it's just on repeat forever about shit, but yet strangely watchable, Rob. And I really do worry, Rob. I really worry.
I have to say that I'm not going to lie. I will give that a go.
I know you will. I know you will, Rob.
In for 5 minutes, because everything that the Terminator has taught us. I'm still fascinated by how these things develop.
Well, let's think about this, Rob.
It's astonishing that this actually happens, or it is happening.
Think about how, in its nascent stages, AI is, right?
Yeah.
And think about its potential to the growth will sort of be exponential. Do you know what I mean? It's like that thing of a number doubling that quickly reach it, like 2. If you keep doubling it, eventually you're just into stratospheric figures, eventually, right? And I think that's a pretty shit analogy. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But what I guess I'm saying is that the idea that we could be a computer-generated sort of simulation suddenly doesn't seem beyond the realms of possibility, because just watching this very crude thing, which was in its very crude nascent stages, in a very advanced, once this becomes very advanced, it could simulate a reality that appeared to be like this interaction appears to be unique, Rob, but really wouldn't be.
See, just as you were saying that, I'm just thinking...
You're a hologram, Rob.
Well, Alex, realistically, I mean, we've been going for a very long time, so it could well be the case that we could get an AI to replicate episodes of this podcast, give the AI our entire back catalogue, to generate content from, and we never need to do this again. Give it a few sources. Give it. I don't know, the news shopper to occasionally scrape stories from, and yeah,
it wouldn't be hard. It wouldn't be hard to manufacture your inane comments, Rob.
Right.
Also, the other question I really had to ask is that in this AI-generated hologram that you and I are both part of, for the last few minutes you've been sitting in your chair holding what appears to be a tube of toothpaste, which to me must be a glitch in the Matrix, or is that some sort of foot cream or something?
No, it's just hand cream, actually. It's one of my more extravagant purchases. So, if anyone knows me, I've got the hands of an 8-year-old and always have had for many years. Lyra basically was walking around with his hand cream and left it in the room. But this is my... I never know how to pronounce it. Is it octane? Is it? I think
it is, right.
But it's
Rob.
Yeah, it's
right. Okay, you're saying it's hand cream, right? I'd appreciate you not knocking one out during the podcast.
Well, Alex, I can't resist the kind of urges at times, so I just need to do it. And I'll be very discreet. You won't hear anything, hopefully.
I guess it's multitasking at its finest. Right, Rob, is there any news? Because we've been rambling for way too long.
Yeah, well, the main piece of news comes in from my friend Pete, who has now managed to reach episode 250 in the back catalogue, and also very kindly gave us a donation, which, is hugely appreciated.
Rob, how do you give us a donate? Apart from signing up to the Patreon and contributing whatever you want to listen to that, as long as it's more than £1 a month, you can contribute whatever you want. Details later. How did he leave us a donation? Was that via PayPal, via our website?
Yeah, that's right, exactly that. So there is still a button. There's a PayPal button on the website. So if you do want to leave us a donation, just click on that and you can donate that way. It is actually relatively easy to do. And
it is.
All donations gratefully received.
Well, the other thing we would say is, Rob, is that when you hit that button, it connects directly to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands.
We didn't need to tell people that, Alex. But
I didn't want people to think that their money was being taken by the tax man, No, seriously, any donations would be gratefully received for obvious reasons.
Yeah. But he sent us an email to break down the last 50 episodes with a selection of choice cuts, if you will.
Right.
So he basically says, "Greetings, Alex and Rob. I hope you're both well. I'm still very much enjoying the episode and have just reached the 250th episode milestone.
Wow.
There have been some brilliant and cracking stories of the last 50 episodes, and the general chat and discussions you have are hilarious."
Can I just say on that, Rob?
People, thank you.
I don't know. Sometimes I'd be up for the challenge. If you could find out from Pete how many episodes he listens to a week, and then if you and I commit to basically, I don't know, just almost constantly recording episodes so that he never ever catches up, ever. Like on his deathbed, he wouldn't be able to catch up. We'll use the AI to do it, just pummeling them out.
I think I seem to had a conversation relatively recently. I think he said he listens to 18 episodes in 1 week.
Okay. Pete,
So, you know.
I'm not sure that's good for your health, mate. I mean, if I had to listen, I don't know.
Yeah, that's worse than listening to an AI version of this show.
I mean, yeah. Why don't we set up a website where we play the episode? Where the episodes are just on a 24-hour. I don't know if it'd be possible to do. It'd be brilliant. It's just a 24-hour stream of episodes. It'd be great if there was a tool that could work out a way of segmenting the stories and would just take random stories from when they begin to when they end and just has them on this loop. How fantastic would that be?
Why though? When we get to episode 400, we make a compilation video, which is basically all 400 episodes back to back, just in one long video, and we'll put chapters in.
Who's putting that? Who's making that video, Robert? Do you understand how big that would be? It would be bigger than all of YouTube.
Yeah, it would be Mr. John YouTube who does it. Obviously, we just give him the content, and then he, one of his dwarfs or whatever he has, stitches it all together.
I do wish we had an admin person who could go over and who could do a best of, and take these episodes and put them together. And because my God, Anyway.
It would make our lives a lot easier. But anyway, look, Pete continues. I don't have a story for you, but compiled a list of my favourite episodes and discussion points in the last 50 episodes, which might serve as a blast from the past for you 4 or 5 years on. So I'll try and run through this quickly because I'm aware we've been talking a long time. So episode 202, the sad tale of John Daniel, the gorilla.
Now I remember.
No idea who that is.
Don't you remember? It was that gorilla, Rob, and that was brilliant. It was a story from way back in the olden times, wasn't it? It was like I don't know if it was early 1900s, where there was some remote village and there was something to do with a gorilla. Do you remember? And he would be.
Oh God, yeah, he was treated as if he was one of their own.
That was it. Something like that. What episode is that? If people want to go back and hear it.
That's 202.
202.
Episode 209, the man with the dead weasel. The man with the dead weasel-like creature accused of assault.
Right.
People say a man carrying a dead weasel burst into an apartment and assaulted a man. The victim asked why he was carrying a weasel. The attacker said it's not a weasel, it's a martin, then punched him on the nose and fled.
Now, I don't remember that at all, but I want to read that story out.
Brilliant. I do remember this. So episode 211, mother and daughter ridden like horses and licked staff's feet in cruel prank at Poundland. They were told they could win £3,000 if they took part in a number of exercises. Do you remember that story?
But there was no money at the end of it, and they were made to do these humiliating tasks. Yes, I remember that very well.
So tie string through their ears, throw water over them, draw on their face with pens, and make them crawl on the floor on their hands and knees. The mum participated, only had one arm. Don't remember that.
Rob, this is the new primetime ITV game show.
Yeah. Apparently there was another crawl prank in an Iceland store where customers had to pretend to be vacuum cleaners. Episode 226, so 226, John Mooner's sex dream.
I do. Well, John Mooner. Weren't we going to buy his book, Rob? I know other books we were going to buy. We promised to do it, and I can't remember what they were. There was that weird guy recently who had that. I don't know. It was what was it called?
Yeah, I'll go back and.
Yeah, please.
Alex, I'm going to go back. We need to buy these books.
Yeah.
Episode 229. Rob's dislike of novelty mugs raises possibility of a new feature: mugged off or Rob's rants, which seems like a missed opportunity to me. And then episode 223, a brilliant and very funny yet slightly disturbing episode. In your as yet unwritten sitcom, there's a band called Fecal Matter, which obviously has
we've never forgotten them.
Has continued, which comprises Alex. We've got the band. We've got the band members: Ron Devine,
yes,
Traptor West, Mark and Benji House Passage, and Roger Perturbance.
Roger Perturbance is the best name we've ever come up with. And Mark and Benji.
Why do we have two characters called Mark and Benji House Passage? Sorry. Oh God, Pete, that's really made me. Then apparently we got into a conversation, Alex, where you had to Google, do vultures have penises?
I don't remember that, but that might have been a private thing.
And can you marry a vulture in international waters?
I remember that.
Apparently on episode 224, Rob would have sex with a privet hedge for £20,000.
I don't remember that.
No, after initially refusing to do anything for less than £500,000. So apparently I really cheapened myself on that episode.
Sounds like you.
And the last episode, which is episode 245, he said it was a great round all episode with my personal favourite moments. And he finishes saying there's been some really great and funny moments. I haven't mentioned, including the clip of a man in a ability scooter reversing over two elderly ladies and hitting them at a bus stop. Here's the next 50 episodes. Keep up the great work and all the best, Pete.
Pete, if you want to keep sending us emails like that when you finish 50 episodes, that'd be brilliant. And of course, every moment, Rob, of LA Podcasts is sorry, I'm still thinking about those band members' names. It's nice that because I would have forgotten that, and it's nice to be reminded in case we ever bring that band
Alex,
to life.
We've mentioned fecal matter subsequently. I mean, that's one thing that's continued throughout this podcast. So it's nice to remember the original lineup.
Yeah.
Really.
Now, Rob, this might be the longest ever. I don't know. I'd like to know if it's a record in LA podcast history, because we are about to hit 20 minutes in, Rob, without having covered a single story.
Yes, yeah, I'm aware
which
of
isn't
that, yeah.
what people came here for. So, right, Rob, I'm going to read you a story from my new favourite website as of recently. I think I said on the Patreon, wasn't it? On the Patreon episodes. Yahoo News. And the reason is, Rob, is that, would you believe it? Yahoo Answers, when we did Daft Talk, that podcast, which are all on Patreon, by the way, as well, exclusively to Patreon subscribers. When we did Daft Talk, which covered the hive of scum and villainy, which was Yahoo Answers, where people congregated to answer questions people asked, and it was just the most horrendous cesspit of humanity. Would you believe, Rob, that if you want to go to a place, Rob, of sort of solace and to remember like some of the good things about civilization and humanity, you should be visiting Yahoo News? Because as I said to you on the Patreon, their comments section on Yahoo News is one of the most enjoyable things to read in a long time. And not because it's filled with inane comments, but because people make some genuinely intelligent and interesting contributions. I'm quite amazed by this, Rob. I'm quite amazed. It's as if people...
That is a shock.
It is a shock. So let's read this story, which Yahoo News are repeating by way of CBS News. It's by Kerry Breen from Thursday, February the 2nd. And also, listeners, as I have recently had I've still got a bit of a bug, to be honest with you. As people can probably hear, my voice is a bit deeper than usual, and that gives me a lovely radio or news announcer's voice, which I can utilise. So, headline: Woman mistakenly pronounced dead was found alive in body bag, report says. And what's really weird is, Rob, again, we don't write this, but there's a very famous episode of Seinfeld where Kramer gets involved in a relationship with a woman who he doesn't realise is connected to the mafia.
Right.
And he has not been sleeping very well. He's been experiencing kind of real sleeping problems. And one day when she's with him on the couch, he falls asleep on top of her, but he's out cold. He's out for the count. This man is exhausted, and she can't wake him. They're in the middle of kissing kind of thing, and he falls asleep. She can't wake him. She can't get him off, and she assumes he's dead. And she rings her contacts in the mafia, who come body bag him up and throw him into, is it the Hudson? I think it would be the Hudson River.
The Hudson.
Throws him into the Hudson River. And there's a great scene where Kramer just bursts into Jerry's apartment, wet, stinking of the river, holding his body bag, saying he just woke up in the Hudson River in a sack. Without any idea of what the hell was going on. So again, connections, Rob. An Iowa care facility is facing fines totaling $10,000 after mistakenly pronouncing a 66-year-old resident dead and having her transported to a funeral home where she woke up gasping for air. A new report from the Iowa Department of Inspections and Appeals, released on February 1st, 2023, details a series of events that led up to the woman mistakenly being pronounced dead. The unidentified resident who had been at Glen Oaks Alzheimer's Special Care Centre since December 2021 was moved into hospice care at the facility because of senile denigration of the brain. This is what was written on the report. I'm not sure I like that collection of words, but I guess.
No.
While in hospice care, comfort measures were taken. Over the course of several days, staff members recorded occurrences of diminished lung sounds and minor seizures. The woman was pronounced dead on January the 3rd, 6 a.m, after an employee, identified as Staff C, said she did not feel a pulse and the resident was not breathing. A staff member notified a licensed practical nurse. The woman's family was alerted. A local funeral home was called. A funeral director arrived about an hour and a half later, Rob, and with the assistance of another nurse, the resident was placed in a body bag, which was zipped shut. The funeral director left the facility shortly afterwards. Another hour later, Rob, so we're talking about roughly 8:30 now, employees at Ankeny Funeral Home and Crematory unzipped the bag. The resident's chest was moving, and she gasped for air. The funeral home then called 911 and the care facility. And on the same day, Rob, you'll be happy to know, she was returned to the care facility and told that whatever happened was in her imagination and that maybe she was struggling with her... No, they didn't gaslight her, I don't think. She passed away early in the morning, a couple of days later, with her family at her side. So, I mean, to be fair, they were just preempting it.
Yeah, but Alex, it's one of those things that you shouldn't just assume someone's dead just because, that they may look like it. Where possible, take every precaution before declaring someone legally dead. That's my advice for today.
Rob, I've got some lovely comments from Yahoo News, comments that will inform and enrich our lives. So John says,
God.
No. When I was trying to tell you about how brilliant this comment section is, this was not being sarcastic.
I thought you were being sarcastic. Okay, right.
No, I'm saying that it's my new favourite website because honestly, it's like nice people are on these sections who say interesting things, Rob. So, true fact.
Okay.
During the late Middle Ages, and you probably know all this, Rob, knowing you, but I was fascinated by it. During the late Middle Ages, burial space at churches ran out and old graves were reused. As they opened caskets, they'd find distorted and tortured bodies, deep scratches in the wood, torn fingernails. Didn't take much to realise they were burying people alive who then woke up. The practice arose to lay the deceased in state for a day or two to see if they would wake, in quotes. Some family members went so far as to tie a string to the deceased finger, which after burial would run up to a little bell at the surface. They'd hire people to listen for bells in the night, which became known as the graveyard shift. If the bell rang, they'd run and gather townfolk to dig the poor soul out, who, if they were successful, was, in quotes, saved by the bell. And if you happened to pass someone in the street who looked like your dearly departed loved one, you'd say he was a dead ringer for the deceased.
I did not know that. I knew about the phrase of. I knew about the bell on the coffin, but I didn't know about the. Also, interestingly, so especially in central London, so graveyards became so overcrowded that they actually started burying people vertically as opposed to horizontally, which is quite astonishing. And then what they had to do is, so there's one church on the Strand where they actually had to dig up the entire graveyard and move out to, I think it was Surrey, because it was just overcrowded and obviously it was becoming a health risk.
Joyson.
Sorry, that's a bit grim.
Joyson says it's also the reason for the ancient tradition of the wake. People are rightly fearful of being buried alive, and the deceased was to be watched for the prescribed amount of time to watch for the person to wake. Apparently, being buried alive is still a valid concern. So do you see?
Jesus, Alex, this is fascinating. Oh my God,
I know, and it's just you get these interesting comments like "behave yourself." So it sounds like one of my old cats. He was about 18, and sometimes you'd swear he was dead, not breathing, moving, or responsive. We lead him on the sofa and come back, he'd be wide awake. Then one day he gave up the ghost, walking up the stairs. He was a good cat and smart. He's missed. Tigger. Rob, this is from the same website, Rob, that published Yahoo Answers, which had to be shuttered down because of the vile filth and racism present on there. Right.
It is astonishing.
Let's do one more story, Rob, for time, from the Daily Mail, by Ruth Bushinsky. Headline: Doritos-eating suspect 24 is arrested after 2 tamarin monkeys stolen from Dallas Zoo were found in empty church with cats and birds, as footage shows him lurking around enclosures. Once again, the Daily Mail, who are apparently one of the biggest websites in the world, can't be bothered to employ a proper headline writer. Right. So, Rob, is there a journalist? I think I said earlier, didn't I? A 24-year-old Texas man. Yes, go on, Rob.
Can I just pick you up on what you said before? I think you're absolutely right, and we don't acknowledge it, but we do obviously feature stories from the Daily Mail because unfortunately for some reason they do seem to have a lot more detail than other story or other reporting outlets. However, their headlines are absolutely horrendous. And we were talking, some of them can go into like 3 sentences. It's like, you don't know how to write a headline. But yeah, sorry, Alex.
A 24-year-old Texas man has been arrested in connection with the kidnapping of 2 tamarin monkeys from Dallas Zoo. Davian Dwight Irvin was taken into custody near Dallas Aquarium, which I love. So he's now poking around the fish shop on Thursday and charged with animal cruelty.
He was scoping the place out.
Now, Rob, we've often... Why would a man, Rob, steal 2 monkeys? I mean,
well,
don't
Alex,
need to
look,
say...
We've already... No, well, I was about to say we've already featured one of as Pete said, we've had to live on the podcast. Google, can you marry a vulture in international waters? And we know what the end result's going to be. And I hate to say it's depraved.
He was booked into Dallas County Jail, but it's unclear at this time if he has posted bond. Came after officers found the monkeys inside an empty church that was also filled, Rob, with cats, birds, and other small animals. Meanwhile, Irvin was shown in eerie security footage creeping around the zoo, apparently eyeing up the animal enclosures. Eyeing up the animal enclosures, Rob. But by the way, whilst I'm looking at the footage now, whilst eating a bag of Doritos. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, brilliant. Well, Alex, I can imagine that kind of thing makes you hungry, so you may as well take a snack with you. And also, he may well have been high.
Yeah, I have to say, it's 2 of my favourite pastimes, bestiality and a bag of Doritos. Could that be the episode title? Bestiality in a bag of Doritos?
I think so.
The video
Absolutely.
The video captured him lurking around the mesh enclosures at an animal habitat near Dallas World Aquarium before being caught. The monkeys were found on Tuesday by officials inside a church closet in Lancaster, not our Lancaster, Rob, approximately 15 miles away from the Dallas Zoo. The animals were unharmed, though temperatures inside the building were only 37 degrees, so that's very cold. Police were tipped off when the church pastor told them that Irvin may be the same person who'd been breaking into their church. When officials went to the empty church to investigate the burglaries, they found a slew of other animals, including cats and birds. And they believe that Irvin is connected to all of the incidents that took place at Dallas Zoo in the prior weeks. Hang on. You just read a story on LA Extra about Dallas Zoo, about something going missing. Do you remember there was we just did it in the last LA Extra on the Patreon. There was a cloud.
Alex, it wasn't me. You read the story. It was about
yes,
it was about
clouded leopard
animals dying in suspicious circumstances.
Animals dying and another one escaping, and they thought it was all connected. This is it. This is him. He's been found. Update.
Alex, can I make an observation? Is there a possibility this man could be the next Noah? He's seen the way that climate change is going. He's just trying to secure the animals in a church until he's got the ark built. So when the polar ice caps melt, he can sail to safety, I suppose.
I think you're right, Rob, and I think that honestly, had Noah been around today, he would have been a Doritos man. So I think case closed.
Yeah.
Sources also told the news outlet that he had been asking about the clouded leopard that disappeared about 3 weeks ago from its enclosure after its cage had been cut. Over the last few weeks, there have been a series of other calamities happening at the zoo, including a vulture who was found with what appeared to be some type of puncture, and fish and other items have been stolen. This man is not mentally well, is he, Rob?
No, and I think he needs to be prime suspect for the related story, because it sounds like he is very much involved to some extent.
Yes, because of course the vulture, going back to vultures again, its death was deemed suspicious. Meanwhile, yesterday, Rob, it emerged a dozen monkeys had been stolen in a zoo burglary in Louisiana. The primates were taken from their enclosure at Zoozania on Saturday. Staffers at the Broussard Zoo revealed in a statement, adding that the incident occurred moments before midnight. In total, Rob, in I can only say, Rob, terms that are eerily reminiscent of, I think it was the Terry Gilliam film 12 Monkeys. In total, Rob, 12 squirrel monkeys were taken. That can't be a coincidence, Rob. With officials claiming an unidentified perp targeted other small monkeys during the break-in as well, before only taking the aforementioned animals. Zoosiana, a 6-hour drive from Dallas, offered its first statement on their break-in on Monday, revealing on Facebook that the facility was broken into shortly before midnight on Saturday. The individual targeted facilities of smaller primates and specifically compromised the squirrel monkey exhibit. There's an episode title in there somewhere, Rob.
Compromise the squirrel monkey exhibit. That's probably all you need.
Reassuringly, Rob, the remaining squirrel monkeys have been carefully assessed by both the Zuziana Veterinarian and Animal Care Team, and there are no other apparent issues affecting their health or well-being. So, Rob, we can sleep at night. All other animals are accounted for and appear to have been undisturbed. Well, have you interviewed them?
Alex, how do we know that the squirrel monkeys didn't identify with this man as their messiah and just followed him like the 12 squirrel monkey disciples?
There's so many things I could say, but I'm not going to. Rob, Fake Choppers 761 simply writes in capital letters, "This story writes itself." And
he's correct on that.
And Blonde and Bright, because only 2 comments, simply says, "What a creep."
Lovely.
Okay, Rob, as somebody starts some what sounds like electric soaring work outside, which I hope doesn't get picked up on the mic, do you have a story for us?
Yeah, I mean, it's astonishing that we covered a story on the Patreon about a man who was driving a London bus. I mean, he was a bus driver, I should make that clear, who stopped to get some fried chicken. Yeah. And it was recorded on TikTok by one of his passengers. It's happened again, Alex. Amazingly.
Piss off. You sure you're not reading the same story from a different source, Rob?
No, it's a different story. It is also from the My London by Ty Kolode from the 1st of February. The headline is Commuters baffled as London bus driver gets off bus to buy plantain in the middle of the day.
Now I like this man. I like him a lot. Why not?
Well, Alex, he realised that there was a key ingredient he was missing from his dish for dinner that evening. So why not just stop a bus full of commuters to do it?
Well, he promised the wife he'd pick up plantain on the way home. He forgot. He didn't. This is his only option.
Exactly. This is it. And he was only a minute or so. So what's the problem? So. The story goes, we've all nipped into the shop during the workday to pick up a few items and pieces we need. Usually it's done during your lunch break or another time when you have a quiet moment and no one is depending on you for anything. Yeah, it seems that not everyone abides by these rules. As spoken about on the Poor Decisions show. I'm not sure what the Poor Decisions show is. Don't know what that relates to. Anyway, one of the hosts recounts a moment when a bus driver in South London allegedly got off his bus to go and buy plantain for a local shop, whilst his bus full of passengers looked on in disbelief. Sorry, Alex, I'm going to have to look at what the Poor Decision show is. I've literally no idea.
I've just looked it up, and all I'm getting is that American show that was called, or American British show that was called The Increasingly Poor Decisions of Todd Margaret, which had that guy from Arrested Development in it. I don't know what Poor Decisions is.
Oh, I think it's...
Is it a podcast? It's a podcast.
It's really
there's a bad... They've got it wrong. There's a Bad Decisions podcast, which I think must be it.
Yeah, you're right. It's a podcast. That's exactly what it is.
But it's not called Poor Decisions. It's called Bad Decisions. I mean, that's pretty poor journalism, isn't it?
No. The podcast is called Poor Decisions.
Oh,
it's called. It's if anyone wants to find it, it's called @Poor Decisions Show. Okay.
Anyway.
I've never heard of it personally. Anyway. So I remember this is obviously one of the hosts. I remember one time when I was riding the bus, I was coming down New Kent Road and was getting into the back. I was getting into Ryland and Peckham, and I was on the 63. We pulled up at the bus stop and outside Peckham Library. But as if you're coming into Peckham, so it's on the opposite side. Anyway, again, it doesn't matter. Just say you're coming to Peckham. That's absolutely fine. Anyway, the bus driver basically... He drives a little further than the bus stop and pulls to the side, gets off the bus and goes to the shop and buys a plantain. Everyone on the bus is watching the man buy the plantain. I'm thinking to myself, listen, I love plantain as much as the next man, but hello, sir, you're on the clock. You got the whole of us on the bus watching you buy plantain. It's like, I get it, bro, but I don't get it. Alex, I'm sure this goes on more than we realise, Rob. Maybe there needs to be a sort of collection of people coming together to tell their stories about London. Maybe it's a hidden scandal. Alex, I want to make an observation. Sorry.
Rob's just got up abruptly from his seat. He looks quite angry. I'm now hearing him shout very loudly, I'm trying to record a podcast. Rob, you shouldn't shout. Rob, you shouldn't shout at the family like that. I mean,
It was a cat, Alex. And on an editorial note, there might be a lot of banging in his cat in this episode. Right, where was I? So, what I wanted to say, Alex, is, excuse me, our local papers now just listening to the podcast and then relaying anecdotes as stories.
Yes, because that's what's happened to local news. I would love to be in a local journo newsroom if they even have one anymore. Because I imagine it's just a collection of people who are working from home, staring into the abyss, Rob, and trying to find anything they can write about. I mean, it is, at this point, it's not even worth continuing with. They might as well just give it a shot in the arm, bury it, and even if it's alive, leave it there. I meant to mention earlier, Rob, sorry to drift off, but about that burial story, about being buried alive, isn't the, what, if we know that occasionally people are still buried alive by accident, either people who've gone into a coma, and it definitely used to happen in the past, we know it used to happen a lot in the past, that people were buried alive by accident, does that imply that once we started the practice of cremating people, that a number of people have been cremated alive, and that could still happen?
It doesn't bear thinking about, Alex, to be honest.
Right.
I wouldn't give it too much thought.
Okay. Well, we were talking about fried chicken, so obviously
Yeah. Also, apparently, the story finishes by saying that apparently there was also a driver who managed to keep his job despite reading a newspaper whilst at the bus of the wheel in central London.
Yeah, brilliant. Do you remember we had that
in a video?
Pete will probably remember this if he's got there yet. I remember we had a story once, didn't we, about that woman who was found driving on the motorway eating a bowl of cereal at the wheel.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
and reading a book. I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. So apparently there was a video of the driver of the 159 bus who had the newspaper placed over the steering wheel at the traffic lights in Piccadilly, which...
oh, you can't blame him for that, for God's sake.
No, but again, it's not just him, is it? I mean, he had a bus full of passengers. So, anyway, look, let's move on to my next story. It is from the Daily Mirror from the 2nd of February by Freddie Bennett, who is the features writer. The headline is... man finds £47,000 stuffed into walls of new home in Nesquik cans, but can't keep it all.
Piss off, I've got this story.
Right, okay.
I got it in my inbox. Yes, I haven't actually read it properly. All I know is that, okay, there was something, the idea, I loved it because I've been watching, Rob, did you ever watch Narcos?
No.
Oh, really? You've never watched any of the Narcos series? You would love Narcos on Netflix. There are a number
from Jason Bateman, isn't it?
No, you're thinking of Ozark, which is also Ozark is also one of the best TV programs ever made. Narcos is up there as well, and it's all about the drug cartels and the drug trade and America's war on drugs and everything it was doing to actually fund drugs and everything. But it's also there's 2 series of it. One is called Narcos, one is called Narcos Mexico, which was filmed afterwards, and that's got Diego Luna as the guy from Andor as the main role in it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because also the original Narcos had Pedro Pascal, so it's weird you've got these 2 Narcos alumni who ended up in Star Wars shows.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, you would love it. But because the idea of because I've learned an awful lot through watching these shows about the drug trade, and the idea of stuffing cash into Nesquik cans is genius.
Yeah, because I think someone's gone to great lengths to ensure that the notes won't deteriorate. And also, does it mean that someone's had to drink an awful lot of Nesquik in order to,
or they've had to employ people to drink the Nesquik for them, which is most likely.
Oh yeah, good.
There's an army of Nesquik drinkers,
which is also a good episode title.
It really is. Yeah.
So a man has come across a jaw-dropping discovery whilst renovating the home he plans to retire in.
Rob, hang on 1 second. If it's okay with you, as you know, back in March, moved into this place. I love you, mate. Love doing a podcast, but we've got enough content. Let's just end it early. I really want to investigate these walls.
No, I understand, Alex.
I hadn't thought about that.
No, I mean, you should be checking your walls for Bovril. £5 notes stuffed into. Does Bovril come in tins? Do you know what? It's probably a glass jar, isn't it? I never had Bovril, but I'm assuming it would be.
Rob, I'm sorry.
Let's say Spam.
I'm sorry. I just felt a real pang of depression. I felt we've been doing this a long time, and I felt we just reached a real low point when you asked the question, does Bovril come in tins? We might have finally run out of things to talk about, mate. I don't believe it does. I don't fucking know. But I don't fucking care. Nobody's fucking eating Bovril. I mean, how is it even still a thing?
Of course it does. Bovril comes in a glass jar, so yes. I would argue it probably is perfect for stashing money in the walls of your home.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, like Marmite. Yeah. It's a very similar jar, actually, interestingly. Now we've reached a new low. Can we think of anything else?
If we stop hearing from Pete around episode 381, we know why.
He's just given up, just died of boredom.
I believe you jumped the shark with the Bovril conversation, guys. I'm off.
Also, jumping the shark about the Bovril conversation is a good idea. Anyway, look. Well, most of us get excited by an old family heirloom or a few quid when digging through old things. Builder. Now, Alex, we've mentioned many times that I can't pronounce names, so I'm just going to call him Tonto. No, Tono, sorry. I don't think that's how it's pronounced. It's got a pronunciation, but I'm going to say Tono got far more than he bargained for when he spotted 6 canisters stuffed with cash whilst doing renovation work on his property. The Spaniard came across the unusual find in the form of Nesquik cans, which were full to the brim with around £47,000 worth of banknotes. Not believing his luck, Tono rushed to cash in his find, but the excitement was short-lived when there's a heartbreaking catch to the treasure. Tono soon realised after trying to cash in his loot that the Bank of Spain will no longer accept the banknotes that make up the 9 million pesetas, as the bank discontinued the old notes over 20 years ago in 2002. You would be gutted, wouldn't you?
Sorry, did you just say I drifted off, Rob? I'm going to be honest, it happens sometimes. I was looking out the window.
You think about Bovril?
Hang on, what was I thinking about? I don't really know.
Alex, let's not do a podcast on what you were musing about whilst you weren't listening to what I was saying.
It's a good idea for a podcast, Rob. Rob.
Yeah.
Did you just say that the banknotes weren't legal tender anymore? Don't tell me that.
Yes.
Why?
So the Bank of Spain had discontinued that particular banknote over, basically it was back in 2002. So they were
worthless. So actually the idea, because you're right. When you think about certain currencies, like imagine if you'd been somebody, Rob, who thought, right, I'm going to prepare for the coming apocalypse or whatever, and I'm going to store, like I'm going to build my house out of pound coins or whatever it is, and those pound coins aren't legal tender anymore, and we've got other cash thing. So actually storing cash under your mattress only works as long as that, because think about it, the Queen died, all the banknotes are going to eventually have to be replaced. Eventually those old notes will go out, so storing it
they'll drop out of circulation.
Yeah.
So
your money is always safer with Barclays Bank.
Well, unless there's some sort of financial crisis. Devastated by the news, Tonto tried to find the solution with his bank. As he explained, I called them, but they told me it was no longer possible. But all was not lost for the Spaniards, as he did not walk away from the situation empty-handed.
He had a lot of Nesquik cans.
Which it turns out they were vintage and collectibles, so no. Thankfully, the builder did manage to bag himself £30,000 after trading in some more up-to-date currency with his whore. So apparently it was obviously a mix of currencies in there.
Did you just say whore or
pay
haul?
For a new roof. What?
Did you just say whore or haul?
Haul.
It did sound like whore. Okay.
I'm not trading in some up-to-date hauls. No, after trading in some more up-to-date currency from his haul, adding it paid for a new roof. I'm guessing they kept in these containers to avoid humidity. The last one was somewhat damaged, but the others weren't. They were ironed. It was incredible, which again really makes me think that this is illicit funds. So Tono explained the house had been abandoned for 4 decades prior to discovery, with the builder snapping at the property, which he saw listed on Facebook, because apparently that's where you buy your houses these days.
It will be in the future, Rob. It will be in the future.
Yeah. And that's the end of that story.
Okay, Rob, it's time for our listener story of the week. What do you got? Who's it from?
So it is from Face of Strange.
Oh, hello. Face of Strange. Good stuff.
I think we have featured this paper before, but I'm not entirely sure. So this is from Richmondshire Today.
No.
Which is
I don't believe
news from
we
Richmond.
have.
No, I don't think. Well, it's Yorkshire, basically. It's Richmond, Catterick,
not Richmond
and the Dales.
upon Thames, then.
No, it's the other Richmond.
No.
It's from the 20th of January by Joe Willis. And the headline is Offensive graffiti appears on fence at new Scotch Corner development.
Right, sorry, Rob. Is this your new specialist interest? Because on one of the Extra Jab episodes, I'm sure it was the Extra Jab episodes, you talked about a cock being drawn on a tree. And you see, this now seems to be your stock in trade, that I should expect a graffiti-related story from you. Is this your specialism? It's fine if it is.
Alex, look, we're in a period where our planet is dying, okay? And someone defaced that poor, innocent oak tree that had been there for decades, if not centuries, with a crudely drawn cock and balls. We don't know what damage it has done to the tree, but at this point in time, every tree is sacred, like the Monty Python song. And the reason I've picked this particular story from Face the Strange will come apparent very quickly. So, offensive graffiti aimed at Prime Minister and Richmond MP Rishi Sunak has appeared in the district.
Oh, good.
The graffiti was daubed on the fence on the site of the Scotch Corner Designer Village.
Is it Cockpiss Sunak?
No. The graffiti stated, Rishi Sunak is a rat-faced cunt.
Oh, dear. And this is another reference to the fact that he does bear a striking resemblance to Roland Rat. Okay.
Yep. So this is in it.
He's really shit at this, isn't he, Rob? He doesn't come across as a prime minister at all. He comes across as this sort of A-level student, like in a sixth form debate. He's really doesn't come across with any authority at all. He's really cringeworthy, Rob.
Alex, let's not forget that when at the point of recording, Liz Truss is trying to make a political comeback. This very morning has blamed left-wing economic strategies for her downfall, not the fact that she was just shit at her job.
Did you watch, Rob, the Nadine Dorries interview with Boris Johnson on Talk TV?
No,
it's really worth watching if you want to sound absolutely brilliant. The woman,
she's fanatical about him, Alex. It's almost as if she sees us some sort of deity.
So imagine how that interview would go. The interview questions are brilliant. Like, it's like, do you think that, rather than investigating you for alleged for breaches of the coronavirus restrictions, don't you think that you had really important things to do in running the country and getting the vaccine done rather than trawling the corridors of Downing Street and looking out to see whether people were breaking the rules? It's just incredibly leading questions which highlighted her own biases. She's got a great career in journalism ahead of her, Rob.
Yeah. And also, let's not forget that, amazingly, she is a best-selling author, which still boggles the mind.
Yeah, she really is as thick as mincemeat. Yeah,
it's quite alarming. It is understood the graffiti was pasted on the fence on Thursday night, but has already been painted over by the contractors, which is a shame. It comes amid a challenging week for the Prime Minister with widespread public sector strikes and criticism of the government. This could be any week, Alex. It doesn't really, doesn't...
Hang on a minute, Rob. Hang on a minute. Sorry. Face of Strange is a artist somewhat in the ilk of Banksy, let's say. He might not appreciate that comparison. I'm sorry if you don't. I mean it as a compliment, Face of Strange. And now he's sending us a story about somebody graffitiing Rishi Sunak is a rat-faced cunt. Is this Face of Strange highlighting some of his own work? It feels to me like this might be something he would do, no? He's a talented artist. I think that it would have at least featured a picture of Roland Rat on there. Oh, I see. Or a picture of you being buggered by a bear.
Sure. Alex, there's only few. Now, I think the paper may have deliberately shut down the comment section early on this story. Sylvia Crooks says, should you give this graffiti the oxygen of publicity? You have helped criminals to spread their obscene message. And then Peter Nicholson responds, the only obscenity here is a crime syndicate masking as a government.
Wow.
Which is an amazing comment. Yeah, also episode. Brian also comments to say, to be fair, he is. And Billy is the last comment before the paper swiftly shut the comments down by saying, that's a bit mean to rats.
Well, on that note, Rob, we bring this episode of LA Podcast, episode 381, to a close. And look, if you've been enjoying this content, I mean, I've massively enjoyed this episode, gone on way over time, but that's fine. If you want to hear more content straight away, go to patreon.com/LA Podcast Extra and sign up basically to be a supporter of this podcast, because we need all the supporters we can get. Just think of it like that. All you're doing is supporting the podcast, and for that, you get back regular episodes of LA Podcast and Extra Jab delivered to your inbox. There's already 40 of them, more than 40 of them there that you'll automatically get access to, but 2 episodes a month, and it's only £1 a month, but you can contribute whatever you want, and we'd really appreciate you becoming a member and supporting this podcast. There'll be a teaser for the next LA Extra episode at the end of this. Always listen out for the end of the episodes. Don't turn off when that music feels like it's coming in and going. Wait, because there is a teaser, and I spend a lot of time making those for you. We can be found on our website, lapodcast.net. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LA Podcast, Twitter @LA Podcast. We're on Spotify, all those places. Leave a review, subscribe, all those great things. And we're going to be back in a week's time with the next LA Podcast, an Extra Jab on the Patreon, and then it'll be 382 back on the regular feed. But thank you, everybody. We've really enjoyed your company. As always, God bless.
And keep it local.
Local Anesthetic Podcast is on Patreon, so go to patreon.com/LA Podcast Extra for access to our exclusive bonus episodes. You won't find them anywhere else. Here's a preview of what's coming up on the next LA Podcast, an Extra Jab. Endangered vulture dies, in quotes, unusual death at Dallas Zoo. A string of suspicious incidents continue. The zoo said, given other suspicious incidents that have occurred, they alerted the Dallas Police Department, who are now looking into the circumstances surrounding the dubious death of the beloved vulture. Now, Rob, you and I have known each other for long enough now, and doing this podcast for long enough now, that as soon as we hear a certain collection of words, it's like a piece of music where you know that is the hook for this song.
Yep.
I am sorry, but are we ever going to surpass the giddy heights of this episode title? The dubious death of a beloved vulture.
No, absolutely not. No, that is top draw. London bus driver leaves passengers on board to go to chicken shop as TfL says it's investigating. I mean, absolutely brilliant.
Did he get a bucket? That's what I want to know.
Oh, could you imagine if he was just driving, like, with one hand on the steering wheel, one hand on his bucket? Not a euphemism.